Christians. In Luke chapter 11, beginning at verse 14, we see an exchange that takes place between Christ and the Pharisees regarding him casting out demons, whereby they accused him of casting out demons by demons. And then he argued that if he were casting out demons by demons, then how shall Satan's kingdom stand? To which we get that famous line where Christ says, a divided house cannot stand. And I'm not here to talk about that particular thing. The next thing that is said in the same chapter, Christ deals with the issue of unclean spirits returning from where they left. And he says, when an unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places, seeking rest and finding none. And then he says, I will return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds the house swept and in order. Then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. And they enter and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. I'm not going to dwell on this part of what Christ said. But what I want to deal with is what happens next. After Christ talked about the unclean spirit returning to the man that it left, then it says in verse 27, and it happened, as he spoke these things, a certain woman from the crowd, she raised her voice, and she said to Christ, blessed is the womb that bore you, and the breast that nursed you. But then he said to her, more than that, blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it. Here's what I want to point out. This woman yells out of the crowd to Christ. And she says to him, blessed is the womb that bore you and the breast that nursed you. In other words, his mother. She, upon hearing his words, she walks away with, blessed is your mother, the one who bore you and who nursed you. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because this would have been the perfect time. This would have been the perfect time in order for Christ to clearly, without any ambiguity, for him to come out and tell us that we are supposed to worship Mary, that we should put Mary on a pedestal, that she should be venerated, that she should be praised and honored and worshiped, as do those who do such things in Romanism. This would have been the perfect time for Christ to teach us that that would have been the right thing to do, to worship Mary. This lady set the stage. This woman who yelled out to Christ, she set the stage, giving him the opportunity to clarify to us all that we should worship and adore Mary the way she is in the Roman Catholic Church. But he doesn't. Now notice, she says, blessed is the womb that bore you and the breast that nursed you. Here she is setting up the stage, if you will, for idol worship. Because no doubt, had Christ responded to this the way she might have liked or the way she might have expected, Mary, no doubt, would have have an even greater following than she does now under the banner of Catholicism. Christ, after she says that blessed is the womb that nursed you and the breast that nursed you, or the womb that bore you and the breast that nursed you, he says to her, it is better. He says, blessed are those, he says more than that, blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it. So she says, blessed is his mother. But he says, more than that, above that, blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it. This is what Christ is concerned about. This is what he calls us to do. He calls us to hear the word of God and to keep it. And he says, in doing so, we shall be blessed. We will be blessed in that. We get no particular blessing. We get none at all for giving honor to Mary as the mother of God. She's not the mother of God. She's the mother of Jesus Christ, who is God in the flesh. She's his mother according to the flesh. But his divinity, his divine nature, comes from his divine Father. But my point in this is to point out that if Christ expected us to worship Mary, this would have been the time to tell us. And he did not. And for those who maintain incorrectly that Peter was the first pope of the church, the Roman Catholic Church, and that Christ appointed him, and if it came to be as it is today, that the Catholic Church worship Mary and make her out to be divine and the mother of God, then it goes without saying that that cannot be true as they think it is when it comes to Peter. Because there is no way, in light of this passage here, that Peter would have sanctioned the worship of Mary in instituting the Catholic Church, which, by the way, he did not do. In fact, Peter had never been to Rome. The only apostle that we know of so far that has been to Rome was Paul, the apostle, who had not only been to Rome, but was born a Roman citizen. He was a naturalized citizen of Rome. So anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts with you on this verse in Luke 11, verses 27 and 28. If Christ wanted us to worship Mary or to raise her up on some pedestal, this would have been the time to do it, and he did not. Be provoked and be persuaded.